Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the Smart Metro Rail Infrastructure. And I'm delighted to have such an great audience there joining us, and absolutely a fabulous panel here. So I think this is the second edition with Schneider, and I'm delighted that all of you could take time out to join. Let me quickly just walk you a very small intro. So this is just a quick background in terms of ITP Media. Most of you know I've been seeing there for the last 1.5 years, especially on this webinar, but this is what we do for a living. And thank you for the great numbers that all of you have made to grow up. Next slide, please. And these are some of the brilliant covers that you see. Construction Week has come up and been doing. It's one of the most respected titles for the real estate and infrastructure. And we really dwell very hard in terms of our portfolio, especially on the metro. And I'm delighted for the Smart Metro Rail Infrastructure, the genesis of efficiency and sustainability. This is core to the metro, and I'm delighted to introduce a very distinguished moderator, Mr. Mohammad Athar, Partner Capital Projects and Infrastructure, PwC India. Mr. Athar has more than 14 years experience of formulating strategies and development plans for industrial corridors, industrial parks, and SEZs and urban development projects. In his various such engagements, he has played key roles, including those of financial expert, industry strategy expert, urban planning expert, and he has led many state and national investment promotion initiatives in India. Over to you, Mohammad.
Thank you, Mr. Vibhor, and a very good evening to all of you. I will be your moderator for the next 55 odd minutes, and I hope you get something out of this session in the form of new learning, new opportunities, and more importantly, to get a sense on how genuinely aligned to the theme of smart metro rail infrastructure, metro rail systems are generating efficiency and sustainability. So before I start this discussion, let me quickly get into introducing my co-panelists. Some very senior panelists are here along with us who will share their experiences. So first of all, I have Mr. Shobhit Tandon with me. He's director in MP Metro Corporation. Mr. Tandon has over 25 years of experience involved in various metro rail projects, whether in the form of developing operations management, feasibility studies, transportation and contract management, and end-to-end life cycle view of urban transport and specifically metro projects. Mr. Tandon, a very warm welcome from all of us. Moving on to my next panelist, Mr. Surjit Singh Madan. Mr. Surjit Singh Madan is Head Rail Systems, Amravati Metro Rail Corporation. Mr. Madan has more than 50 years of experience across metro organizations. So we really benefit from him from the geographic as well as the challenges of metro rail systems across various cities he has worked on. Early on started with BHEL and has kind of moved into focusing a lot on technologies that are needed for development of locomotives, metro systems, and he will be talking about these metro systems on this panel. So a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Surjit Madan.
Thank you very much.
We have Mr. Ashutosh Shukla, who's Director Mobility Segment with Schneider Electric. Mr. Shukla has more than 26 years of experience in the electrical and electronics industry. He's worked with Schneider Electric for the last 15 years. He's focused on multiple modes of mobility within the Schneider firm and has also focused on aspects of project management and equipment sales within his role. So I welcome you, Mr. Ashutosh Shukla, to the panel.
Thank you, Mohammad.
We were waiting for Mr. Murthy as he joins. Mr. Murthy from MMRDA would be also joining this discussion. So without further ado, and in the interest of time, I will start the session with my initial note, and then I will open it up to our specific speakers. Please make full use of this opportunity. Please ask questions. I will take questions even in between to make it not a monologue, to not make it one way. So please keep on using the chat box to ask questions, and we'll be happy to take questions. As you can see, several hundred years of metro and urban transport experience is here packed in an hour. So we should try to do a good job of this. So with that, let me start with my initial note and opinion. As we all know, that public transportation systems are genuinely seen as a genesis for generating sustainability and efficiency. And why do I say that? Across the world, if one looks at numbers, and numbers never lie, almost 14,000 route kilometer of metro network is right now operational, and several thousand route kilometer of metro network is already in various stages of planning. What's more important is to understand the impact of this metro system. We have almost 54 billion ridership happening annually across these cities, creating an access to job, an access for new opportunities, and growing the cities where these metro systems are working. Metro systems have helped in enabling a sustainable development across cities by diffusing population pressure, by diffusing pressure on existing CBDs, by developing new CBDs. They've helped in reducing pollution. How many million cars, as we know, have been put off the road because of metros? They've led to reduction in accidents. They've led to reduction in pressure on fossil fuels, as we know. And most importantly, what matters most for all of us, it has led to a reduction in the time we take for commute. And it has led to billions of minutes being saved annually in terms of the time saving for commuters. As a result of which, metro systems are at the core of creating a very positive impact on reducing carbon footprint, and have also helped enabling the environment focus we need to be brought in public mobility, especially in a world which has been devastated by a global pandemic. The metro systems come as a core solution and enabler for sustainable growth. While there have been positives on the metro system, as we are aware of, there have been our challenges also. One of the key challenges has been that COVID-19 substantively impacted the confidence on public transport around the world. As we know, traffic dropped to zero across metro cities in India and across global cities. Systems which were designed to handle millions of passengers every month faced almost near zero traffic for several long months, and it created issues related to operational efficiency, operational viability, and then that became a big challenge for metro systems. But they have come out with them with various interventions. Technology has played a big role in creating faith in public users and enabling technology for bringing mobility as a service back to people. And we are going to discuss some of that. There have been discussions on how do we make metro systems more demand responsive and aligned to cities' infrastructure, and are there alternate technologies available to make that happen, aligned to the city's strength and the infrastructure constraints we have to work. So in this discussion, what we will do is try to see the role of technology in enabling sustainability, the role of metro systems in bringing about a change in the way we do business within the city limits, and more importantly, what kind of future impact we can see this. So with that initial brief from my side, let me open this discussion first with Mr. Tandon. Mr. Tandon, what I would like to understand from you is, how are you going about planning metros in the state of Madhya Pradesh? Aspirational development, a lot of hopes from metro system, whether in Bhopal or Indore. How are you bringing focus on environment in your planning? What are you doing for ensuring sustainable growth for the city as you go about implementing metro systems in the state of MP? Mr. Tandon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Athar. We are implementing two projects in MP Metro. One is in the city of Indore and other is in Bhopal. So we are fortunate to have Indore in this thing because Indore, as you know, has always been in last 4 years in news for being the cleanest city in the country. And the environmental consciousness in the city has already crept in. So that way, we have been fortunate to have it. And then both Bhopal and Indore, especially Indore, is at a situation where, see, these projects will take normally time for fructify. So we have always been that, although you may not look into immediate benefits, you may not be able to see, but over a long term, metro systems are being planned for 100 years. So and we have been able to convince the public and overall traveling this thing that yes, we would be implementing these projects, and which will be reducing the overall impact on the environment to a large extent on a long period. We have also been planning to introduce, since we are in the initial stages, we have floated some tenders. Two tenders for the civil works are already on, and our system tenders would be floated shortly. We are in the planning stage, and we have been able to introduce things like solar in the initial stages of planning itself. And I am expecting that around 11 megawatts in Indore and around 9 megawatts in Bhopal, we would be able to generate from the stations and depots, which would contribute to something like 11,000 tons of carbon footprint reduction in Indore, and something like 10,000 tons of in Bhopal also. So that is one thing which we are also and the second thing which we are implementing is of the latest IGBC platinum rating in case of various buildings, depots which are being planned. Like BMRC has done it, other metros are also maybe planning for that. And in the initial stage itself, we have been able to incorporate these things so that ultimately this contributes to overall planning. And third thing which we are trying to do is develop a kind of a local area plan and the complete city along with multimodal integration, which has been talked a lot over last few years, but we have been trying. In fact, our TOD policy and TDR policies are already in place. Although that two small cities, not like Bangalore and or in fact Mumbai, where the market is already existing, but we have been trying to do to the extent possible so that the metros are able to sustain themselves, sustain the environment, and contribute to the overall growth of the two cities which we are planning.
Mr. Tandon, thank you. It's heartening to see the focus on environment, the focus on commercial sustainability, as well as on the overall economic development of the city in the way you are going about planning, especially your focus on IGBC rating for buildings, as well as the way you are designing systems to reduce carbon footprint. It's really excellent and futuristic. What I would do is, I would, on that note, actually would like to bring Mr. Surjit Madan, and I can see a couple of questions coming around that aspect as well. Mr. Madan, people have been talking about various technologies and rolling stock options for cities based on the infrastructure constraints we may have in terms of what capacity a city can handle, what kind of metro system a city can handle, and especially when we start discussing about possibilities of exploring metro systems for tier 2 cities. Would you like to talk about that, sir, in your experience? What is the future of metro system in our tier 2 cities?
So basically, metros started in India from the metro cities or metropolitan cities like Delhi, then came over to Mumbai, then to Bangalore, and then went on to Hyderabad, and Calcutta was the first. Now, those cities need a metro system which to cater to larger group of passengers every day. Then next came the smaller cities, where incidentally we extended the same system to those cities also, like cities like Nagpur. So basically, the system, when it gets extended to smaller cities with the same configuration, it is not optimum. So if we have to make metros to take care of tier 2 cities, which are having a present population of 20 to 30 lakhs, then we must come to system like which are lighter, means they are more economical to construct. Their cost wise, also on the system cost, we must reduce, and also reduce the operational cost. Because long term, what is hurting the metros in some of the cities is the operational cost, apart from the interest burden on whatever we have. So those are the things we must diligently say. Recently, Government of India came out with Metro Life. There is small issues with that because it's basically a tram system. It gets mixed with the traffic at the crossings, road crossings. So it may suit to some of the cities, but it is not segregated or exclusive right of way. But we can have similar type of system as a part of metro also. Example is Copenhagen metro is like that. But on a smaller cities, we must go for the driverless metro. Unless until we take advantage of the technology, the viability becomes lower because the investment is very high. The first thing is we must reduce our axle loads. So what it will result into reduction in the viaduct cost in case of elevated metros. Reduce the length of the stations or platform to reduce the cost of the stations as well. The civil cost can be brought down between 20 to 25%. Then we can reduce the cost of the system. But if we invest slightly more on the system cost, we can get benefit on the O&M, like driverless systems. Unless until we adopt to driverless, now all coming metros in India could be driverless also. But we are not focusing on it. I'll just give you an example. Singapore started with driverless metro as a first metro and never looked back. So we must learn from others also. And it is not something new. The driverless in Bank or in Lily is something like more than 30 years now. And it operates with better efficiency. So unless until we go back, improve on technology, and also look at the micro level on rolling stock, where we can have it more functional. Like suppose in Delhi, we have 8 cars. Suppose now it has expanded to 8 cars. But in non-peak hours, we may not require 8 cars. Then we must have a system where we can decouple and couple within 5 minutes. Like Mumbai Metro has that feature. Okay. If we have that, then on non-peak hours also we can maintain the same headway. Suppose we have a headway of 5 minutes in the peak hour. We can have same headway with running with the 4-car train. And we can couple always in 5 minutes and run on the peak hour. Unless until we look at the micro levels improvements also, then only metros can be viable. But it can be made viable because it looks now in some places it is too early. But in 10 years, those cities will start crying as Delhi was started crying at that time if metro would not have come.
Thank you, Madan sir. I think the whole focus on planning and detailing is extremely critical, as you hinted upon it, because technologies would be implemented only aligned to the way we go about planning. Great point over there. I see Mr. Murthy has joined. Welcome, sir. Glad to interact with you on the panel after a very long time. Sir, the next question is to you. So would you like to share your experiences on planning metro rail systems in Mumbai with several lines getting planned simultaneously, a couple of them operational now? So how have you gone about these massive infrastructure creation in terms of monitoring, reviewing timelines, and more importantly, what were the elements that you focused on, which were focused on environment sustainability and larger sustainability of the city ecosystem? Mr. Murthy.
If you look at the metropolitan cities in India, the city which requires badly a good mass transit system had been Mumbai, and it was Mumbai always it was. And in fact, if you look at the previous history, the first metro study was done for Mumbai by Indian Railways. There was organization called MTP Railways, 1967-70. But then somehow the issue of urban transport, whether it is a state subject, central subject, it had gone into different discussions at the time. And rightly so, the Indian Railways priority had always been on the long distance freight and passenger movements. So Mumbai, after the suburban rail system, they have not attempted to look at the other alternate systems those days. Then the Calcutta came. Then only after the Delhi metro system started getting implemented, then the Mumbai had been looked at, and it was DMRC who had prepared our master plan. We had a comprehensive transport plan first time in during 1990s that would cover all modes of transport. Till the time, the earlier studies, while they had studied the different modes of transport, they have not given any dedicated planning except for either it is for a proper road system or proper suburban rail system or a water transport system. Those were those specific studies, specific mode-oriented studies. But first time during this World Bank study, the entire system had been looked at in total as a integrated transport system, what we call, in terms of transport planning and urban planning aspects. And Mumbai, rightly so, it has been a transit-oriented city, and because of this high growth and low availability of the land, the suburban rail system has been under tremendous pressure. So what the IIT and MMRDA and DMRC, we sat together, and the Lee International was there. They were appointed as the consultants. We said Mumbai being the transit-oriented city, the issue is of how to meet the demand rather than how to generate the demand. See, most of the other cities, if you look at, you will have to attract the people. Internationally, the metro systems, people are, personal vehicle oriented transport systems, and they would not prefer to go by the, if you see the both buses as well as the some of the metro systems elsewhere, they are relatively not having that demand as our cities. And having said that, here it was a case of a crisis management. So the first suburban rail system had been given impetus. The first World Bank project started with 4,500 crores, then another 9,000 crores. Now there is MATP 3, MATP 4, which are being under the implementation stage and planning stage and discussions with World Bank and the AIB. So the parallelly, as we call it in transport planning or the urban planning, the glass is full. Whatever you keep on loading, the water will spill over. So the passenger demand on the suburban rail, see, you keep on increasing your legs, your hands, your other, but you have certain capability of how much you can take the load as a human being. So you need to spread the system. So we had one objective in mind, that within half to 1 kilometer, Mumbaikar should walk and get a public transport system, which is a rail-based system. So that is the intention with which the master plan started. And it first went into around 146 kilometers. Then it came to 175. Now it is almost a massive expansion is happening now after the line 1 with lull period of around a decade. Now it's a 337 kilometers master plan, which will cover both the hinterland as well as the main metropolis Mumbai corporation area. And around 180 kilometers is now under the implementation. So 35 kilometers we will be completing by this November, December, and in all likelihood by January, February, it should be open for public commercial runs. So the overall planning has been that how to retain the share of the public transport rather than you need to attract the people. Like my friend Mr. Surjit is saying that there are other urban transport systems which are in crisis to meet even the operating costs. Having said that, Mumbai case is slightly different. He would also agree. He had worked with me on many projects in Mumbai as well. He has worked in Navi Mumbai also. So Mumbai projects dominantly, they have the good ridership. The only thing is how to sustain these public transport systems has to be seen from a different perspective. But Mumbai will have by 2024-25, Mumbai will have completely a good parallel supplementing system to the suburban rail and BST. With these three systems and the monorail, all the systems would synergize the entire transport system for next 60-70 years.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy, especially talking about the experience you have had over the last 15-20 years planning metro rail system in Mumbai. And clearly, Mumbai never had a problem of demand. We always had a problem of super crush load in our metro system, and as a result of which, how to go about solutioning it. So, yeah, I agree with you on that point. And that's where, let's see if I can bring a technologist on this. So, Ashutosh, what do you think is a technology possibility for metro system, specifically a leader like Schneider? What kind of options are available for metro system when it comes to demand management, contract management and optimization of performance, especially linked to the whole focus on sustainability?
So can't agree more with what Mr. Murthy said, because being from Bombay, we can absolutely relate with, we just look at what is available, what can we catch, whether it is a bus or a train or whatever it is. So demand is the generation is never been an issue. But here we are talking about metro as a whole and on a pan-India level, because every city, whether it is tier 2 or tier 1, has a different, flavor with respect to demand. If I start with a small, what do you call, small example of what a 4-rack metro car can do, it has a capability of actually removing either 16 buses or 300 cars or 600 two-wheelers from the road. That's the capability, and this is where one can relate that what kind of congestion and pollution which can be taken off the road when these metro systems come. So there is absolutely no doubt on this idea that sustainability is inherent to all the metro projects, whether they are part of mega cities like Mumbai, or tier 2 cities like if I can say Indore as a tier 2 city. Okay, now with regards to Schneider Electric, where do we come into play? There are 3 areas where we can operate. It is with regards to design, with regards to construction and operations. So we need to divide into these 3 parts about how can we bring in the sustainability angle. And when it comes to design, we are truly dependent on the digital tools which are available in terms of first of all the equipment sizing, your electrical infrastructure sizing, and then when the single line diagrams and all those things which are done in a very optimized manner, and we really start getting into the construction phase of the project, then we have these softwares which are, we have a company called RIB, wherein we do the construction management. What we do with the construction management is basically we have 3D drawings available from our softwares. So this, on these 3 dimensions, we add 2 more dimension. One is the time and another is the cost. So the time dimension, when added along with the cost on the 3D drawings, a different platform gets created, which can be on premise or it can be on cloud. What it does is it basically brings everybody, every stakeholder of the project on a common platform. So the drawing approvals, the design modifications, even the supplier bills, the changes which we want to bring into the project, the cost impact of the changes, the material planning, everything and everybody is on the common platform as far as this construction piece is concerned. And I'm very proud to say that the Nagpur Metro is one metro which is using this construction management software as on date, and getting, it's not only about saving the cost, but it's also about saving the huge amount of time, and which is also a cost, because project overruns in case of a metro projects is a big challenge, which we have seen in lots of metro projects in the past. Now, this piece which we created at the construction stage, it can be passed on to the operations phase in a digital form. So in the sense that once we get into operations, we have clearly a full idea of about which equipment is lying where, and when we get into the operations mode, I will not like to make it too electrical, but we are normally managing most of the operations through SCADA systems. So these SCADA systems, they are individual. It could be a traction SCADA, it could be your station SCADA, it could be your what you call RSS, all these put together. So when we are trying to create what we call as asset management platform along with these SCADA, these SCADA being the basic bricks of that asset management platform, this digital twin from the construction, when combined with the asset management platform, I think this gives the complete 360-degree view of the project. And this is where I believe that sustainability can actually be divided into two parts. One is the asset sustainability, and second related to the environmental sustainability. And on the environment side, maybe I will talk later, and we can move to the next round, Mohammad.
No, that's great to know, Ashutosh, the focus and the leveraging of technology for sustainability as well as what Schneider is doing. I'll bring back to focus on Surjit ji. Surjit ji, some of the people who are on this panel along with us, and that was also my question. Post-COVID, there's been a loss of confidence in public transport. There's been an increase in buying of private vehicles across two-wheelers, four-wheelers, and there are documented evidences as well. How do we bring back the faith in public transport? What could metro organizations do? A. And B, this is where also at a planning level, the integration of multimodal transport systems becomes critical. What's your opinion on that?
We just look at the sustainability first. If we look at the sustainability, what metro we adopted are more suitable to the metropolitan cities. But when we go down to the smaller cities, we must reduce first the cost of construction, if possible time of construction, and then make system technologically smarter than what they are today. Improvement on signaling, driverless operations, all will add to long-term sustainability, and that will only sustain the metros. If we don't move now in that direction, then more questions will be asked in time to come. We have to cater to, say, out of the whole 18, 19 hours of operation, the peak hours can be morning 2 hours peak or evening 2 hours peak, in some places 2 to 3 hours peak, but not beyond. We run metros 12 to 14 hours on non-peak. So unless until we improve the energy efficiencies of those operations, sustainability becomes more difficult. Idea is to have a smarter rolling stock as compared to what we have today. We should start with the, say, 2-car train for smaller cities. Then should be able to add the third car, and later on for 30 years, we can add a fourth car. If we don't do that, right now the model is we start with a 3-car fixed geometry, and then it cannot be added another fourth car. It will be only expandable to 6 cars. So operation wise, it would not be optimum today and also tomorrow. So those are the issues which we must look at from technological point of view, what we can contribute to make the metros more sustainable. Then adding to multimodal, all will come as a parallel. First, we should become self-sufficient. Otherwise, all supports can always be there. Means that's a very small part. You can plan easily and can achieve easily. But a wrong planning on metro, then nothing can be done later on, because it will be heavy on the cost, heavy on operational cost, and that cannot be reduced. And you waste energy. I'll just give you an example. The tare weight of a train is 2/3. So means our payloads are only 1/3. If I run train which is not full or close to full, I'm only spending the energy. Regeneration and all is a secondary level, but we have wasted more energy. So another way of saving some energy is when we have the station, like in Mumbai Metro Line 1, we have grade on both the sides, on both the approaches. So when you accelerate, you are taking the advantage of the gravity. And when you are braking, you are taking again the advantage of same gravity. So your power consumption is lower only by making use of what is universally available, gravity. So like those are the things which can be fine-tuned to make it much more sustainable than what it is today.
Thank you, Madanji. I think fantastic ideas for a lot of policy makers as well as people who are actually operating metros or planning metros.
Regarding your question of COVID preparedness and bringing the confidence back, I'll just supplementing Mr. Madan. We in fact are thinking in the rolling stock also, because the issue is of the airborne infection and all. So now the technologies are available for HVAC to have ultraviolet filters or some other kind of filters which will reduce the chances of infection. Like plasma also, I heard that it is available. So since we are in planning stage, we are thinking in that terms about the stations also as well as the rolling stock. And there are some more things which are coming into picture, like copper coating in the rolling stock, this thing, and there are many other ideas which have started emerging now. So as we design our trains, we would like industry also to suggest us in case some things more are available. They may not be very costly things, so these things can be added later on. So we would like suggestions from the industry on that. And the second thing, like Mr. Madan was saying, I agree completely that for smaller cities, the sustainability is important. And in fact, that's why we have gone for Goa 4 sir in our both the cities. In the initial stage itself, although there is always some confidence required. So initially we would be doing for Goa 2, but we are designing it for Goa 4 for both the cities. That's the only supplement I want.
Thank you, Shobhit. Actually, I was coming to you with a very similar question. So thanks for answering on the COVID and the way designing features can be brought in. You spoke about TOD policy, and when we were working with World Bank, land use and transport integration came across as a big challenge for the impact of metros. And we were doing some workshop with ministry across various metro systems. So I wanted to understand more about how you are going about it. What is the end objective you are trying to create through the TOD policy which you are generating, and what kind of impact we can see in future? And also in your planning, are you thinking about another important element which passengers are looking for is more contactless travel across ticketing or across the way they're accessing system? How are you thinking about some of those dimensions as you're planning the new metro system?
Regarding your first question on what was that? Second is on contactless
TOD policy.
TOD policy. In fact, TOD we already have a policy in place for the transit-oriented development. In fact, we are not that advanced like Mumbai. Mr. Murthy would be more appropriate to answer this, because we do in both Indore and Bhopal, we are starting to develop the market for TDR. TOD is available, but TOD would be more acceptable with kind of FAR, free FAR or something which we can give. But other than that, we have just started in Indore, especially for TDR portion. The policy and the framework is available. But when we were planning to do this, COVID happened. So we have to now discuss with the stakeholders, especially the builders and all, then how to implement it. Just having the policy may not be sufficient. Now we are also involving municipal corporation and our urban area. Fortunately, we are also very closely associated with the urban department. So we have been trying to use that so that we will be able to do something on this. We did something on cess, that 1% cess on the real estate. So that is available, which is coming to the urban department, which would be at some stage available to us. But other than that, we are still in the process of doing something. But yes, Mumbai has done a lot because they have traditionally had this system of thing available. So they would be throwing more light on this. Regarding that contactless thing, yes, we are now in any case NCMC is available, so it would be incorporated in this. We are in very initial stages of our AFC tender. It is a part of our PPP tender. So in fact, we are looking for partners who can suggest to us what would be the best way of implementing NCMC. Some metros have gone for consultancy also, and some are maybe going directly. So in case we have ideas available, we may go for that. But we are still taking some time since our station tenders is just now online. So after that, we would be looking into that.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Murthy, I'm sure you would have guessed that I would be coming to you. Sir, there are many things I want to ask you, so maybe my question would be multifaceted. One of the key things we have seen across DPRs in metro, and a lot of metro systems struggle projected versus actual ridership, and there's been a big delta between what was projected and what in reality happened. And then more probing across various research paper when we worked with metro systems or with multilaterals. I think the last mile connectivity access became a big challenge for people. Actually, we did a study which showed that time saving in metro in one of the city was not happening because the time taken to reach metro and move out of metro led to whatever was the gain on metro system was all lost over there. How have you solved for those? So that's first question. Second, and this is where how the role of bus system and metro system, how they complement each other becomes critical. So want to understand on those, that piece. And third, the whole land value capture piece around metro system as a driver, because fares alone are not going to enable the viability one looks for. One needs to think about mobility as a service, and there could be many options a mobility system provider can generate, whether in the form of digital transactions, whether in the form of real estate revenues. What's happening in Mumbai, would like to understand some of that. So those are the three things, sir. Happy to listen from you.
You put really multifaceted questions. See, as a TOD policy, the policy had been approved by the state government. However, the cess also is approved, and the cess is coming to the what we call it the development cess. So on the development charges, what Mumbai did, the cabinet passed a resolution, and accordingly the metros have been notified as the vital urban infra projects and projects of public importance. So under this, so certain categories of exemptions are available to the other tax system. The second thing, when it comes to the development charges, so they instead of, let us say, if there is a 5% development charge, so that becomes one-time double, where the metro corridors are identified. Those corridors within 500-meter range, this development cess would become applicable. So that money is coming, and there is a stamp duty, increase in the stamp duty. So these are the two things. Stamp duty goes to the government exchequer, and from there, from the consolidated fund, it comes to the metro organization. The development cess, what we call the development charges, the increase in development charges goes to the local authority, and local authority would pass it on, keeping there. So out of this, the proportion what has been decided earlier, one is the metro. Here MMRDA is doing both urban infrastructure and metro, but in other cases it is not a similar example. The metro corporations, most of them are either PPP or it's a central and state joint venture. Their aim is only they would do the metro. So the supporting infrastructure has to be driven by the state government entities and urban local bodies. So whatever the development charges that come out of this, 50% would go for, if you call it TOD and other things. Again, there is a strain on the other water, then the sewer system, then the supporting road system. So these are other systems. So rightly so, certain amount will be going to the urban local body, whatever is the increase, and certain amount will come to the metro organizations in terms of the long-term sustainability. If you look at traditionally, as you said rightly, the transport is a service. See, transport guides the development. So it is what we call in the fundamental transport planning. It is not a direct commodity where you can go and buy it. So it is always a disutility in terms of financing. Also, if you look at, you have to spend money. So any public transport infrastructure should not be seen as a profit making, sustainable. These are long-term goals. We should always aim for it. But once you look at as a service, as a urban development project, the funding has to come from the state government, the other local authorities, from the taxes and other resources. From there they get the money. It's either general taxes. TOD policy has been approved. However, the implementation has certain issues because Mumbai there are so many schemes. If you see the new development plan, there is a TDR. You can load the TDR. You can load the slum rehabilitation. So there are other FSI calculations that would come. We'll have to see how successful in overall. But as of today, the funding is coming from, one is the stamp duty, another development charges, and the other government funding. MMRDA is funding the infrastructure, and through multilateral agencies we are taking the soft loans. But as you rightly said, that in the long term, at least operation and maintenance, these organizations should be able to sustain without going back for funding to the either central government or state governments, saying that these are going in losses. I think I have covered your last mile connectivity. You have asked about the last mile connectivity. We said all the metro corridors, the suburban rail system, and there is called what we call is a urban transport authority, Unified Metropolitan Transport Authority, chaired by the chief secretary level. In fact, chief secretary sir is the chairman for that. So they would meet and and then at the ground level, field level, the traffic managers of BST and metro organizations and Indian Railways, the suburban rail system, what I meant to say, these would be working in tandem to find out which routes, you have to reorganize the routes and, increase or reduce the frequency. Finally, bus system will continue to play a predominant role. And there are certain places, recently, there is a cable car technology, like somebody was saying, you are only saying that after you get down at your destination, you are taking too much time to reach your home. So there is a what we call the cable car technology that is proposed one near the Charkop station. From there, you can go towards the SL World side. So that would be like a feeder system. Again, 5 to 8,000 PHPGT. You don't get into these traffic snarls, moving on the roads. Because some of these feeding areas to the metro and suburban rail are nearly 5 to 10 kilometers away from the spinal corridor. So those places, when you go to the far suburbs like Malad, then the Goregaon, then the Borivali and other places, the spread is so huge. So those places, but anyway, there are two metro systems coming. One is on the Western Expressway, one on the Link Road. This would reduce the travel distance or the travel time from metro to their homes, or rather to say. Then there is a auto rickshaw system. There is Uber system. We are going for the cycling. The lot of municipal corporation and MMRDA have given impetus to this, non-motorized transport. So lot of multimodal integration part of the scheme, there already works are going on. So people can walk or cycle, and we have kept this even e-bike system in BKC. So a lot of people keep using this as part of this. So you have to attempt not just by saying that, one solution is panacea for all the problems, but it's going on the multifaceted. Anyway, I think smart system, you are aware that already it would be contactless card. The State Bank of India has been appointed as the transaction, this thing for our common mobility card. I think I have answered all your points.
Yeah, Murthy, thank you. You have listed down a lot of good initiatives. Again, very good inputs for a lot of policymakers. I think what you said, and we also truly believe, based on our experience nationally and globally, is that beyond the land value, beyond the land and transport integration, institutional integration is another key critical success factor around the set of initiatives we need to enable metro. I'm just conscious of time. A quick question to Ashutosh. How can tech firms enable focus on environment sustainability, leveraging what's there, and how such organizations can bring about changes using what's available on technology. Ashutosh, a comment on that.
I think I agree with what Mr. Madan said, that the sustainability will start right from the construction stage. I mean, you have to optimize. You have to be efficient in whatever you do. But it is much more important during O&M phase, when you are actually running the things and on your own, and you have to sustain yourself, right? So I think there that point was touched upon by Mr. Shobhit also, that most of the metros are going for the IGBC rating, and they are going for the solar systems. But what is more important is, we can have these systems, but if there is no common integration, or what you call entity, what we call as microgrid. Okay, microgrid is one of the solutions which is available today to the customers. What it does is, you have a utility supply, you have a DG supply on the station, and you have the solar supply on the station. So what microgrid does is, it can also gives you an option of a battery storage system which you can have. And we are discussing with few metros that by integrating a battery storage system, we charge it at a time when the tariffs are low, okay, either through the solar or the utility, and we use it when the tariffs are high. So microgrid does all that for you. So it can be islanding, but I'll not call it an islanding of the station, but a utility connected microgrid, where you are managing your your utility points in such an efficient manner that your current electricity consumptions are lowest. And I think electricity is the biggest element of the O&M cost which is coming to the metro, apart from rest of the technologies which we spoke about, that how do we improve the efficiency of individual systems. So a lot to speak about, but I would say only 2 minutes are pending, and I would encourage that if we can take some of the questions from the audience also, that would be great, because they have, I think, lots of questions they have posted.
Sorry, gentlemen, for allowing me to surface, and Mohammad, thank you for this. This one gentleman was trying to ask a question, and it is for MMRDA, Mr. Murthy, and he's requested, sir, please. So I'm just pushing it, sir. As head of projects for MMRDA, is clearly a job involving close coordination with MEP team and other systems to deliver the right space for every equipment which is going to fit in, as well as planning for renewable energy options for future. Tell us how all these factors are taken into consideration during construction phase. Mr. Murthy, was I audible, or you want me to read?
I would say that in fact, when we started the first station planning and design, the first thing we took about is, how do we make use of this solar energy? Okay. So that's the first thing we looked at, and our roofing structure, the PAV are designed for taking around 40% of coverage area for taking the solar system. So this has gone into our systems team inputs as well. And from the systems team, all the initial stage itself, all the drawings, the interface drawings, the cabling, everything has been taken care. If you are talking about the renewable energies, we are trying to look at, because these are open stations, these are not air conditioned stations, but there is also one proposal where in the depot and some of the staff quarters areas, we are trying to see how we can take the sunlight directly into the conference rooms, or each of these floors. There are some limitations. It may be slightly costlier, but in the long term, we are looking at that we will do the experimentation in this. So our interface with all the MEP is since beginning. So it is not that the first civil systems are done, then there is optimization or reorganization taking place because of the systems requirement.
Thank you, Murthy ji. I think what I've done in the panel, I've already asked few questions. Few still remain unanswered. So let me ask Surjit ji, conscious of time, so let's try to cover as many in the next 3-4 minutes. Why are not platform screen doors implemented as much as we have seen globally? Is it a cost issue? Is it a safety issue? Is it a traffic issue in our country?
The platform screen door should be implemented without doubt. They particularly on all metros which are underground, they are a must because you save a lot of energy by having the platform screen door. Because whatever is the effect of the station doesn't get disturbed when the train comes in, right? And vice versa. So you preserve a lot of energy on the underground. Coming to elevated station, they are normally open to the environment. Then the platform screen doors, you can have another version of those we call half height platform screen gate. So they are known as platform screen gates rather than door mean the full height and the gates mean the half height. Now they become essential from the safety of the passengers. So all driverless metro by default have to have means you must protect your platforms. No passenger has an access to the track under any conditions because there are no drivers and they are the best safety measure available for the passenger or retaining the passenger into that space under emergency, under normal condition. So sooner you will see more of either the platform screen doors or the gates will be start implemented on the elevated station and underground in any case. They are a must. So that day is not far off.
All the Mr. Surjit, I would only like to add with what you have said. All the new systems which are the unmanned train operations, they are being made essential part of the system itself. So all the Mumbai lines have platform screen doors. This is a new requirement of driverless trains, so it has come along with that in all the elevators. You can see somebody
can must have a protection for the passenger. Safety is also the utmost. Metro operation as such very safe.
I'll just take one more question and then we'll have to unfortunately close. This session could run for another hour for sure. Shobhit, maybe a question to you. What's your view on the speed of construction and ongoing activities in metro which are getting planned? And because of COVID, lesser manpower being available, how are we mitigating such issues? Are you seeing similar challenges?
Yes, we have been facing this for the last 1.5 years. This issue on and off. Although we had only 2 contracts which are running, and the contractor had his own labor camp available. But we have had issues with the labor regularly, and even now it has come down. But yes, in case of COVID, even for the contracts which are under tendering, bidders have been asking regular extensions because they have not been able to move. So although it is online, but still we have been flooded with the request for extension. So there is a problem with the COVID on the base of the project, and it will be difficult till we get the fully vaccinated. So let us see.
On that positive note, I hope COVID is behind us and we all get vaccinated soon. Thank you, panelists. Fantastic discussion. A lot to learn from this experience, which all of you bring. As I said early on, we had this several hundred years of experience on this panel, and it quickly showed up in our discussion, right from planning aspects to operational efficiency and the larger impact metro systems can have on our cities, cities of opportunities as we call them. Critical success factors being how do we think about land use and transport integration, the way we go about institutional integration, and how do we leverage technology in the development of these systems would remain critical. Thinking about efficiencies, especially where we are having very long non-peak hours, how do we think about metro systems for those for future sustainability are important dimensions our speaker spoke about. So thank you. Thanks once again to all of you for this. I would request Mr. Vibhor to come in now for the last vote of thanks. Thank you, all of you.
Firstly, a big thanks to our lovely audience who I see there right now, absolutely glued. I think continue your confidence and love that you bestow on us. I think incredibly, I have to thank Mohammad for a wonderful discussion that you steered. I think it was absolutely every discussion thread that you created was phenomenal, to say the least. And a big thanks to all our panelists, Mr. Surjit, Madan, Mr. Shobhit, Tandon, Mr. Murthy. It's a pleasure. And Ashutosh ji, absolutely. And I think the thread of this discussion is going to continue with Schneider. This is the second, and we've got a couple of more. And I think, audience, just in case we haven't been able to answer, please understand the paucity of time. All these gentlemen are very, very hard pressed for time. So make sure, Jershi, my editor, she will make sure that, we carry an exhaustive coverage of this. So people who have missed would definitely get to catch up on more. And we will make sure that all these questions, we reach out to our panel members so that you get your answers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely a pleasure from ITP Media and Schneider Electric to make sure that we give this incredible neutral platform to you. Thank you very much.